Welcome, everyone. We're going to talk about random encounters for Dungeons and Dragons. Why would you want to do random encounters, and how? So let's start off with the why. If you don't have random encounters, your party members are going to be enticed to simply rest or even go back to town after every fight. They're going to go into the fight, they're going to use all their abilities and all their spells. They're going to cleave through them, no problem, because they know they're going to be able to just rest or go back to town and be back at full strength for the next room. It makes perfect sense from the perspective of the players. But, you think about if you were in a, quote, real dungeon, why would you not do that? Why would you wouldn't be afraid that random monsters would come into the room while you're sitting there just resting. Or if you left and went back to town, new monsters would come in and be new foes for you to have to go through to get to that second room and its treasures. So it really would be a hard decision to make whether we should press on. So how do you generate random encounters? Well, I like to make it known to the party that you're free to do whatever you want. If you want to take a rest in the middle of a dangerous dungeon, that's perfectly fine. But there's going to be a risk. And so I have them roll a d12. And on a 1, it's a deadly encounter. On a 2, it's dangerous. On 3, it's a setback. I don't think it's appropriate just for the DM to just sort of arbitrarily decide and then, or like every single time. That doesn't seem right either. So let them know and let them have that fun decision of, okay, should we rest? I don't know. Maybe we should push on. You want to have there to be a sense of tension, a sense of should we push on and push our luck and try to go to room 2? And I think it's a lot more fun to have that decision. And allowing the party to have lots of decisions, I think, is engaging for any dungeon. So it's just one more thing that you put in their hands. So the next step would be, well, what is the random encounter? It can be really hard on the spot because you don't know what your players are going to do to come up with unique and balanced encounters. Is it too much? Is it too little? A tool can be very helpful in that case. It can take that cognitive load off of you, and you can get back to worrying about just running the encounter rather than having to try to cook it up on the fly. So let's take a look at one of those tools, Kobold Helper. Let's see what it can do for us for generating random encounters. All right, here we are at koboldhelper.com. It always starts off from the perspective of wanting the player to join a session to make it easier for your players, but in this case, we're wanting, as a DM, to set up an encounter. So set up an encounter for players. Click here, and it flips over to this DM mode, where I've got encounters. I'm going to go ahead and load up a party members that I've already created. So I can simply go into my storage, and I've got a storage name, simple one, fetch. And it's going to bring in my ready-to-go party, Alina, Merlin, and Ragnar. But then let's go ahead and set up the random encounter. So I go to Encounters. Automatically, it's calculating my party CR based upon my 3 heroes and their level. So I can choose Setback, Dangerous, or Deadly as my threat level. And then next up is what is the kind of encounter. I can do it by monster. Totally random monster, which I guess can be fun, but it can also be a little weird, like why all of a sudden is there this ankhead in the middle of, this dungeon. But more than likely, you're going to want some kind of theme you have in mind. So just some kind of goblinoids, some kind of undead, some kind of awakened plants, because we're in some weird swamp. There's a lot of options here. So the point is, once I zero in and I realize, okay, my theme that I want is goblinoids, I simply hit generate monsters, and it's going to create me a little goblinoid warband. It's thematically correct with goblins, and it's appropriate for CR for my party. Every time I click it, it's going to be a little different. So if I have multiple encounters, it's not like a weird, like, oh, it's always 2 goblins in a bugbear. It's going to be completely random each time by the tool. So you get some surprises and some fun things. Okay, so the next up then is maybe the party just went into woods or the forest. I didn't expect him to do that, but now it's time for a random encounter and I'm not ready. So I go by terrain, forest, generate, and it just gets me something that makes sense for forest. A wood elf patrol comes by. A whole nest of spiders. So we've got forest, dungeon, caverns, underdark, mountains, and barren, which would be like your desert areas. Now, the next thing Kobold Helper can do is maybe it's not always a monster that you randomly encounter. Maybe you randomly step into a trap. So we can go on to generate trap. Simply click here, and it's a deadly trap. So it's really hard to spot it, to avoid it, and you got a blast of fire that does a lot of damage. So I'm going to tone it down just so you can see that I generated a trap. So now the DC is much easier to spot it, to avoid it. But otherwise, if you don't avoid it, this time it was a pit, and it's a random sized pit. And then down in the pit, it has poisonous gas. So you got to get out of that pit quick. It can create some interesting scenarios and challenges for the party to solve. All right. So the next thing to understand is every time I'm going to go ahead and generate an encounter with monsters, I got my wood elf patrol that's going to want to know why we're in their woods. It's automatically added to the combat. So I've got my heroes, and now I've got my my encounter, and I'm ready to go. I'm one step away from getting this thing going. Session name. Simply give it whatever session name you want your party to sync up on. Hit setup. And I'm going to flip to the other tab. So my players would simply go to koboldhelper.com as well. They get this friendly intro. They say, and you tell them it worked. We're going to be on party 1. And they put in their name so that you can understand who's joined and everybody's in place. So it's ready to go. And you control all the stats and abilities and effects as we go along. When you're ready to start, you hit start, and it automatically rolls initiative. And off we go. And the players are seeing the same sort of thing. So it's Wood Elf Scout 1 has the initiative. Here we go. Next up is Ragnar. And just real quick. So if for some reason Ragnar got shot really bad, just to give you a little sense of the effects, we got a health indicator that indicates to everybody that Ragnar's bloodied. And maybe for some reason Ragnar now has disadvantage. And then also, oh my gosh, Ragnar is also paralyzed. I don't know what happened. The point is that now we advance the turn, and Ragnar's up, and everybody can see, including me, the DM, can remember, oh yeah, Ragnar's paralyzed, or this Wood Elf Scout is stunned, and I shouldn't attack with it. And oh, maybe I should help out Ragnar because he's bloodied. And it just helps keep everything tracked. But for that random encounter that I just created on the fly is the point. Okay, so there you have it. That's what Kobold Helper can do for you for random encounters at koboldhelper.com. Totally free. Check it out. Thanks, everybody. Bye.